Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 285. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. You guys know what time it is. It's Book Insight Friday. And today, I'm delving into my book, Alphabet City 8, which is available in all stores, except Amazon. And you guys know why. For those, who listen, every week, and have listened to my episode of Amazon and why and all that good stuff. You guys know the deal. So anyway, let's get into it because it's the continuation of the Alphabet City series. And this is book 8 of 12. Now this book shifts into the focus of drug dealing, drug addicts, and the life of Kevon. And he's part of a gang. It's only fitting that I wrote it this way. And I had to make them the bad guy. I had to make him the bad guy. In some ways, he's a drug dealer, destroying the lives of his own people in the community. And I knew ahead of time the direction I was going in with this book. After living in a few neighborhoods with drug dealing, I knew in my mind how I was going to write this book. And Alphabet City, this book series focuses on the inner cities of America and how a lot of different things are affecting Black and Latinos. And this was a definite topic that I needed to tackle. Now, one thing I always do with my book series is I plan out my chapters. I write an outline of what I want to discuss in the chapter. A lot of times the outline doesn't happen because I write books in my head and then I put it on paper or in my laptop. That's more of what really happens these days. I definitely planned out the chapters for this book, but once I started writing, I was able to wing it a little bit. So the content flows and then it comes to me, right? I just kind of go and, it all works out for itself. My goal is to always put myself in that character's shoes and make sure I immerse myself into who he or she is as a person. So you'll see their personality traits, mindset on life, their morals and values very early on, right? Like a lot of times you'll see the chapters of the outline of it and go, okay, I know how this is going to go, right? I don't like to drag it out, and Kevon was someone whose only goal was to make money. That's it. At a very young age, he saw what life was like having money, and in his mind, that's what he wanted. I always like to put characters in positions where they think they want something, and then later on they realize it really wasn't worth it at all. This is that type of story. And there's a sense of remorse or questioning their decisions, right? Because every character kind of hits that point, in a book, no matter what it is, no matter what type of book it is. It could be a book like this on social issues. It could be a book on self-help or whatever it is, right? Now, Kevon's life is a roller coaster ride, and you will see that throughout his story. And while not really giving the book away, you'll learn of his fate and life as a drug dealer. And as they always say, this life leads to prison walls or the morgue because of the dangers and repercussions of this lifestyle. And for me, I've seen so much in my life, so it makes it a little bit easier to write these characters like Kevon, unfortunately. And growing up, in the inner city, you see things that you're really not supposed to see. So Kevon is the guy who's out to make money, but you've got little kids walking to school, walking home from school, going to the grocery store, and Kevon's just out there to make money, making his money and trying to live a certain lifestyle, right? So it's whatever it takes for him to live life the way he sees fit. And a lot of young men in the inner city, they don't have the structure at home, or there's the financial struggles, there's living at home with a single mom, or living, with the grandmother or aunts or whatever. There's these young men that don't have father figures or don't have that uncle to put their arm around them and say, you don't need to go in that direction. Sometimes the uncles are in gangs, or their fathers are in gangs, and they end up in prison. And, so it says there's a whole lot of different situations and circumstances which lead these young men into these lifestyles that they know are dangerous, but they're willing to take that risk on an everyday basis, right? And these are the issues that permeate and infiltrate the inner cities of America, right? New York, certain neighborhoods in New York City, Memphis, Miami, LA, a lot of different cities, right? Detroit. And we see, the docs on YouTube or Hulu or Netflix, whatever, right? You can see it on TV, but you're getting glimpses of certain things. You're not getting the full landscape of all of it, right? So writing a book that fits that mold, it's challenging for me. And I want to write a book where there are consequences for these things, right? Because when you're watching it on like A&E or Investigation Discovery or, the hood vlogs and things like that on YouTube, you're not really getting the full effect of it. These guys are like, oh yeah, I lost my cousin Rara, I lost my boy Pookie, man, may they rest in peace. Meanwhile, they're still on the block trying to make money, right? So they've lost friends and cousins and things of that nature, but it's not stopping them, right? The beat goes on until something happens to them, right? And that's the whole point of Alphabet City 8. You get where I'm going with this? I hope you guys are. So my goal is to always ask the questions of, why are these things happening? What are we doing to change these things, right? So how often do you watch something on TV or hear something or read something or whatever, right? And you've got the drug dealer, right? They're on the block, they're doing this, they're doing that, right? You got, the local police departments watching them. You got, the DEA watching them, and or the FBI or wherever it is, right? And it's gonna get to a point where they're gonna get caught, right? Now comes the question of, well, what happens, right? So there isn't that talk of drug dealers getting caught and going to prison for a long time, or they get cut a deal to speak on who's the head honchos, because the drug dealers on the street, they're the small guys on the totem pole. They're at the bottom of the pyramid, right? It works its way up and up and up and up and up, right? And if you guys have watched the show Snowfall, that's a real serious glimpse into the 80s and what happened in Compton and in Los Angeles and Crenshaw and things of that nature. That's real stuff. John Singleton really did a magnificent job on really showing what really goes on with drug dealers and the dangers of it and the consequences, and main characters in that show series did die, right? If you haven't watched it, I strongly advise you watch it. 6 seasons, 10 episodes each. You can binge it because the show is officially done and a lot of the characters have moved on to other roles on other TV shows and things of that nature. What I'm saying is there are underlying things that are going on in the inner cities of America, and nothing's really being done about it, right? These places stay what they are. They don't change. Why? What's going on? What is it going to take for these things to change, right? These young guys see that fast money and they want that type of money right away. They don't want to work their way through corporate America, or they don't want to work their way through certain things, right? And there's this culture within Blacks and Latinos a lot where it's, you're on the block selling drugs, you're an athlete, or you're a music artist, right? There's no positive messages being shown in Alphabet City, right? There's a 26 block radius of negativity on a regular basis. That's all you see. That's all that infiltrates your mind. And until you get outside of the confines of those 26 blocks, you really don't know what life is, right? Young kids really don't get the opportunity to get out, right? And that's expressed early on from Alphabet City 1 with LJ, right? He got out, and he really doesn't have too many intentions on going back throughout that story of his that I wrote. So there's a lot of conversation starters for each book that I've written. And hopefully Alphabet City 8 does its justice. My books aren't that long because I'm the person that wants to get to the point and I want to start a conversation. I don't feel that I need to write 200 pages about drug dealing in the inner cities of America, because there are hood vlogs and documentaries that pretty much show that every day. And it's very, very easy to just go into some of these inner cities and really see it for yourself. So it's why I try to keep my books within a reasonable page range. They're easy reads, and it's nothing malicious that I'm trying to do, but I am trying to open eyes to a lot of what's going on. And the 12 books that I did was really scratching the surface. I just wanted to tackle the most important components of what goes on in the inner cities. And I've gone to school in the inner city and I've gone to school in the suburbs. They're two totally different worlds. And maybe one day I write that. But anyway, now I'm realizing that I gave you guys pretty solid 12 minutes of what this book consists of, and inner city stuff that I've seen and learned and all that good stuff. So I hope that you enjoyed listening to this podcast, and I thank you for listening. That is my podcast for today. I thank you guys for listening as always. Alphabet City is available on Barnes & Nobles, Apple, Kobo, Scribd, Vivleo, Baker and Taylor, Overdrive. So my books are in online book libraries also. So if you're an online book library person, you definitely can, go and find it there. I will drop the link in the description so you guys can go check that out. Paperbacks are available on the Book Patch, thebookpatch.com. In the search engine, type in my name and you'll find all of my books. That's the pod for today. Have a good weekend, everyone. Be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.